Hey, what's up guys? My name is Jared and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to do a little bit of an intro to displacement in Redshift and Cinema4D. I want to go over creating some pretty in-depth sci-fi type displacement using a tool called JSplacement. I'm using this personally in the background of a pretty complex scene that I'm working on right now. You can create some really interesting geometry like you see on the screen right now. It's a pretty easy way to fill a background of a sci-fi type scene or really anything technology based. It's an outstanding tool by a great artist and I just wanted to kind of highlight it. So if you are looking to just learn about displacement in Redshift and you already have your own maps that you need to use, go ahead and skip using the chapters to the part where I start working on the Redshift displacement. But if you want to learn more about JSplacement, let's go ahead and get started. And I just thought that I would use this as a general, way to intro Redshift displacement. The first thing you need to come over to is windmillart.net / this link will be the first one at the top of the description, don't worry. And then just download this JSplacement installer. This guy is an incredible artist. I won't call him a developer because he doesn't want to be called a developer. If you read this is kind of the story behind JSplacement. I strongly recommend donating or doing whatever you can to just support this project because the artist who made it is really an incredible guy, and the fact that this is a free tool is just a blessing to us all. So once you install JSplacement, you can open it up and you will be greeted with this splash screen where you can open this icon over here to view all the different tools that lie within the program. If you come over to .grid, you can see that you can make some really cool circuitry type stuff. These are all just maps that you can create to use as displacement or bump, or you can even, do some color and stuff like that. So I strongly recommend playing around with all of these different options, but we are going to live in the JSplacement 2, which is just the main tool that, originated this whole program. So if you click to generate a displacement map, you can see that it gives you all this really cool greeble type stuff. And these up here are the actual sprite packs. So there are 4 that are built in, and then you can do custom as well, load your own in, which is really, really cool. I'm going to use Crap Pack because it has a lot of smaller details that I really like to have in scenes like this, I guess. And then you have all these options to change this image. So that's what's so cool about this program is you can really create an infinite number of combinations from all these assets. So it's just a really good resource for all kinds of artists. What I like to do is take my background brightness all the way down. I like to have some dead zones here. So these are areas where my geometry is not going to be displaced at all. These little pure black areas. Inversely, you can also do areas of full white, which will create almost an inverted map, which is kind of cool. I'm going to bring my sprite scaling down here to get a little bit extra detail and take my iterations down just a little bit as well to have some more black in here. Now these are seamless. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with the parameters here. I recommend playing around with it. You can also color this. So there are some really cool gradient maps here that you can use to color this map right within here. And that is a really cool option to have. I'm just going to save my height map so that we can go ahead and start creating some cool displacement. I have this folder called random height maps that I'm just going to save this file to, and then we can jump into Cinema4D to start the displacement process. You're going to want to set up some kind of lighting scene. I have one built into my start file that you can see here. You can't really actually see anything, but there is lighting here. If I come into my lights folder, and then you're obviously going to need some piece of geometry to put this material that we create on. Let's go ahead and start by creating a Redshift default material. And we're going to need 2 things. We're going to need a texture, which is just an image texture. And we are going to need a displacement map. So just drag in a displacement, and what we can do is load in that image that we just created into this texture node. So mine is right here. I'm going to plug this into the texture map and plug this output into the output displacement. And so now that's kind of updating my material previews and stuff. We are mostly done with our material section. And I'm just going to apply this to my cube. And if I hit play here, you can see that nothing happens, which is not good for us. In Redshift, you have to enable displacement on a per object basis. So let's come over to our cube and right click it and add on a Redshift object tag. Come over to geometry, override this, and enable some displacement. Now, you can see that we instantly have a little bit of detail going on here, but not very much. And part of that is because we have very low displacement values. Part of that is because our object is not very high resolution at all. So I have one segment per side here. I'm gonna go ahead and up this to like 100. Oh, that was 10. And you can see we get a lot more detail already, but we can up this just one more kind of step by coming into our Redshift object tag, go to geometry and enable tessellation. So this is basically like subdivision within Redshift, and you can see that's already given us some extra dimension to this object. Now all that's left to do really is play with these displacement values down here. So the maximum displacement is kind of the max height value that Redshift assigns to displacement. And the displacement scale value is what's actually being multiplied by this texture here. So if you come into your Redshift displacement, this scale here is the exact same thing that is happening within the displacement tag here. So when it comes to doing this method of displacement, it's all really just about finding a balance between these two numbers that makes you happy with both your look and your render time. So I'm gonna start by just setting mine to something pretty high, like 210. And you can see we have some really funky geometry going on, but it's super cool. I mean, and the level of detail in these maps is just, it's absolute insanity. So again, shout out to the guy who made this tool. He's an incredible artist. So this is too high, obviously. So I'm gonna take my scale down to like 5, which should give me about half the displacement. And I am really interested in what I'm seeing here. I like this. I could create, whole scenes out of this. And there's a ton that you can do with it. So like if I came back into JSplacement, for example, and toggle the colorizer, I can give it this color map, and then I can save color, save it in this same folder, add in a texture node, and we can load in that color and pipe it into our diffuse color. And once that texture processes, you can see we've got like some pretty cool stuff going on. So if I, for example, plug this map also into the reflection roughness so that we get some roughness going on. Not quite enough roughness. What if I just take the roughness channel and crank this a little bit? So you can see that we've got some really cool colors going on. You can obviously rotate this to get your own angle, whatever you like. I'm gonna come into my lights, take my fill lamp here, maybe my HDRI, give this some more power, just so we can see what's going on. And then obviously you can add depth of field, do all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's just such a great tool. So I just wanted to do this video as kind of a basic, intro to geometry displacement in Redshift. I hope you're able to pull some sort of value out of it. If you were, go ahead and drop a like. I appreciate all the subscribers we've gotten recently. I'm very excited about a lot of the content that I have coming up and the growth of the channel overall. So thank you so much for your support, and I will see you in the next video.